Hey, Cami, I see all of the board members except Board Member Singletary. Do you know if he is joining today?
I have not heard from him, so I'm assuming that he's going to.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Right on time.
All right, I am going to call the February meeting of the Colorado Mineland Reclamation Board to order. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to begin with a roll call of the board members. Nell Ware-Morris.
Here.
John Singletary.
Here.
Karen Utterbeck-Norman.
Here.
Forrest Luke.
I'm here.
Tim Mock.
Present.
And Lauren Duncan.
I'm here.
All right, full board today. Thank you, everyone. Let's begin walking through the agenda. First item is approval of the January 2021 summary of minutes. I'm assuming everyone has had a chance to review those. Are there any questions, comments, or do we have a motion?
This is Forrest. I'll move that we approve the minutes from our last, from our January MLRB meeting.
Second.
Second.
Moved and many seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. The minutes have been approved. Next are continuances and withdrawals. I do not believe we have any.
We do not.
Great, thank you. All right, number 3, Executive Director's Report. Deputy Director Mott.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Brandon, Tim Mock, Deputy Director with the Department of Natural Resources. Just a couple updates this morning. The Colorado Naming Advisory Board is continuing to meet. We had a meeting last week. We have worked through the bylaws. We are now working on a process, standing up a process for considering name change proposals for geographic naming places. Expect to maybe get underway with reviewing some of the proposals that sit before the U.S. Board of Geographic Names sometime in the next month here or two. Backcountry avalanche danger. We are continuing to encourage everybody to please practice safety in the backcountry. The governor now has a message out. We've had a number of tragic accidents this year in one of the what's shaping up to be really one of the worst years we've had in a long time with avalanches. So just encouraging everybody to please use caution if you're going into the backcountry. And then we are in the middle of the legislation. We're not in the middle of the legislative session. They are coming back into session. I believe the governor has his State of the State address this morning. One of the bills that we have been working on for Colorado Parks and Wildlife is what's called the Keep Colorado Wild Pass. You'll hear a little bit more about this. Still in development right now, but it is looking to be an all-inclusive pass for our state parks and some state wildlife areas for everybody to participate in. And so stay tuned. When we get a draft of that bill, I'll be happy to share that along. That'll be of great interest, I think, to a lot of people here in Colorado. And that concludes my report. Open any questions.
All right, thank you. Director Brannon.
Good morning, Ginny Brannon for the division. Yeah, you'll be hearing it towards the end of this, an update from Russ on our rules, but we are plugging through that. And I did want you to let you know, of course, again, just as a reminder, the rules are kind of two parts. One is to shore up temporary cessation and what it means to come in and out of production so that these sites don't just languish indefinitely. And that's really the piece that's getting the most attention. And the other piece is to implement, very simply implement HB 1113. And that piece forbids permitting when there's going to be perpetual water treatment, which we don't do anyway, but shores up, what kind of parameters you need around any kind of situation where water treatment might be necessary. And so we're having that conversation, and the conservation community, or Conservation Colorado, did initiate, I just wanted to let you know, a bit of a letter writing campaign. It was a friendly letter to me, saying, Director Brandon, please make the water quality rules as strong as possible, or something like that. It was a fairly benign message. But those letters, if you hear about that, will go into a file. That's part of the informal comment period. The formal comment period has not yet commenced. So just a heads up. No harm, no foul there. And again, you'll hear more about exactly where we are with the stakeholder hearings from Russ in just a bit. That's all I have, unless somebody has any questions or comments.
All right, thanks, Jenny. All right, we have nothing on the consent agenda. So item number 5, discussion of coal and hard rock reclamation awards and the Jim Pendleton Award. Jason, that is to you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the board. I'm going to share my screen here. I got just a brief presentation, shouldn't take too long. And let me know if everyone can see that.
I can see the entirety of the PowerPoint. If you were just hoping to share the PowerPoint itself, I'm not the one to help you figure that part out.
Oh, well,
But we can see it, yes.
that one's good enough. How about that? Okay, so this morning I'm here to present the 2020 Excellence in Reclamation Awards. These awards will be presented at the 2021 CMA SME conference, which unfortunately during 2020 was canceled. 2021, the conference will be held virtually the first week of March. Every year, as part of the conference, the last day we do have an awards banquet in which these awards will be presented. This year, of course, we recorded the award presentations, and they'll be shown during the virtual conference in a couple weeks. So we'll go through just a few. This year we have 3 awards in excellence in coal and hard rock mine reclamation. Those 3 awards are in 2 categories. I'm not sure if the board's aware, but generally these coal and hard rock mine reclamation awards fall into generally 3 categories. They're either advanced technology or improving technology in reclamation, basically solving a unique situation in coal reclamation, or continued sustained partnerships for coal and hard rock reclamation. Generally, they're nominated by the division staff or by mine operators. Those nominations are sent to CMA. Once CMA receives all the nominations by the deadline, the division receives those nominations, and what we try to do is be pretty inclusive with the specialists and division staff to vote on those nominations. Once we determine who the division feels should receive an award, we present those nominations and division's recommendations to CMA, and then we come up with the award winners. So this year, we had 4 nominations total, 2 in hard rock reclamation and 2 in coal reclamation. And the division nominated 2, 1 in coal and 1 in hard rock. So the first award is to Trapper Mining, and the Trapper Mine for advanced technology to improve the reclamation process. And this is an Excellence in Coal Reclamation Award. And this award is acknowledges Trapper Mine's achievement in the continued bond release success. In 2020, Trapper was approved for 3 bond releases. Of those, 162 acres were phase 3 bond release, which is a full bond release. 298 acres were phase 1 bond release, and 175 acres were for phase 2 bond release. Trapper continues to submit bond release applications each year with each phase of bond release on a 3-year rotation to promote continued liability release. They maintain an active and continuous vegetation sampling program on all reclamation parcels in order to attain the required standards. And just a few statistics that were submitted this year from Trapper. Out of the 6,828 total acres disturbed at Trapper, a total of 4,745 acres have been reclaimed, with 3,592 acres of the 4,745 acres achieving phase 3 or final bond release. So that's pretty substantial. And Trapper is an excellent example of coal mine reclamation. So we believe that Trapper deserved an award this year, and CMA agreed. So that's the first award. Just a few pictures submitted by Trapper of some of their bond release areas.
Hey, Jason, this is Russ.
Yeah.
Means your
Yeah.
slides aren't advancing. All we're seeing is this the first slide, so
Oh,
you have a different view there.
oh, I got a different view.
Yeah.
Let's try this again. Can you see that screen?
No, we
It's
can't.
still the first one.
May
I'm
hit
not
the
sure if
play.
you, go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say, it's not in play mode from what we're seeing. You're kind of in the work mode.
Yeah, go up and go to the slideshow there. Yeah.
I think you might have to stop
Switch.
sharing and then start the slideshow and then start sharing.
Right.
I know that's worked for me in presentations in the past.
If it's easier, Jason, I can always share the slideshow and you can just tell me where you need to be.
Yeah, sure, that works, Cami.
Okay. Let me see if I can get it. Hold on just a sec here. Give me just a second here, guys. I gotta get into my files. It's opening. It's fighting me. All right. All right. Sorry for the delay and Okay, what page you want on?
Oh, we'll start with that the first picture. So it'd be slide 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you want me to advance.
Sure. So this slide and the next slide are just a couple of pictures of the reclamation at Trapper Mine. You can go ahead and advance, Cami.
Okay.
As you can see, there's pretty substantial reclamation, good vegetation growth. The second award doesn't fall into one of the 3 categories, but it's for CB Minerals for the Coal Ridge Mine. And this reclamation award represents an individual mine receiving full phase 3 and termination of jurisdiction during an evaluation year, which is a big deal in coal. There's a 10-year liability period for these mines, and generally throughout their life of mine, there's reclamation that occurs. So we'd like to acknowledge when a mine does achieve phase 3 and termination of jurisdiction. So CB Minerals achieved final phase 3 bond release and termination of jurisdiction at the Coal Ridge Mine in 2020. The Coal Ridge Mine was an underground room and pillar coal mine in Garfield County, just right outside of Glenwood Springs. They began operations in 1986, and the permit area at the site was approximately 272 acres. The final reclamation operations began in 1994, and as I said, receiving final phase 3 and termination of the jurisdiction of the division's permit in September of 2020. Next slide, Kimmy. So here's just a picture that was submitted by the division of the portal area at the Coal Ridge Mine. As you can see, it's excellent reclamation. It's a good example of what 10 years of revegetation and reclamation on a surface facilities at an underground coal mine looks like. Next slide, Cami. For excellence in hard rock reclamation, we received a nomination and awarded the Climax Mine an award for overcoming a unique challenge. This reclamation award acknowledges Climax Mine's achievement in the Lake Erwin wetland mitigation, which involves restoration of wetlands through the existing tailing storage facility at McNulty Gulch. The reclaimed irrigation pastures were designed to produce 2 or 3 cuttings of alfalfa grass hay each summer and provide grazing throughout the winter. The Lake Erwin area is an area perennially ponded with water, and it's located on a formal tailing storage facility in an area that was heavily disturbed by previous mine-related activity. It will involve the creation of 3 wetland aquatic habitat types, and the design will take advantage of the water inflows to the area to sustain wetland aquatic habitats with connectivity to adjacent native landscapes. Next slide, Kimmy. This project is ongoing, but the division felt like once the nomination was sent in that this project and what they're doing and why they're doing it deserve some recognition. And so in terms of overcoming a unique challenge, we believe that we believe and CMA agreed that the Climax Mine deserved 2020 Hard Rock Reclamation Award. Next slide, Kimmy. Another picture of the wetland area that was submitted. Okay, next slide. Finally, we have the James A. Pendleton Mineland Reclamation Award. This award is presented by the division. It's not in collaboration with CMA. And it honors the memory of Dr. James A. Pendleton, who was a principal scientist with the division. He was an engineering geologist, mentor, and trainer. He provided valuable guidance in the programs in geotechnical engineering, mountain scar reclamation, mine subsidence, and resolution of issues of controversial mining operations. The Pendleton Award is presented by the division and honors substantial achievements in mining and reclamation throughout the state. So this year, the division's proud, and I'm, personally honored to present the Pendleton Award to Forrest Luke. I've worked with Forrest on and off my entire time here. I think you guys all know him. He's been on the board for quite some time. So I'd like to just read, I'm just going to read real quick my, just in case you guys don't hear it, and he has so many accolades that I can't remember them all. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the presentation that we sent to CMA. So prior to his recent retirement at the end of 2020, Mr. Luke has served as the Manager of Environmental and External Affairs at Trapper Mining for the past 28 years. Mr. Luke's position at the Trapper Mine included responsibility for all reclamation activities, environmental permitting and compliance issues, management of Trapper lands, and various government permitting and compliance issues. Under Forest direction, Trapper Mine maintains a nationally recognized reclamation program that was presented in 2002 with the Federal Office of Surface Mining's bronze medal as one of the 3 best examples of mine land reclamation in the first 25-year history of the modern surface mining era. Trapper continues to receive national and state reclamation and community relation awards on virtually an annual basis. Under Mr. Luke's direction, the Trapper Mine serves as a model for other natural resource extraction industries, as they have successfully established vibrant rangeland habitat on former mine land that supports a diverse array of wildlife and plant species. In addition to the noteworthy reclamation accomplishments at the Trapper Mine, Forest and the mine staff developed an environmentally protective operation, overcoming the many challenges of mining in the Rocky Mountains with a strong environmental ethic and a commitment to regulatory compliance. Mr. Luke and the staff at the mine have developed a strong partnership and working relationship with the division. In addition, Mr. Luke has served on the Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Board since March 1st of 2013. His experience in the mine regulatory environment and his wisdom and fairness have been an invaluable asset to the board. Mr. Luke currently serves as the Board of Trustees of the Memorial Hospital in Craig and previously as Vice Chair of the Yampa White Green Rivers Basin Roundtable. He served for 10 years as chairman of the Colorado Mining Association Coal Committee and recently served a term as president of the Northwest Colorado Energy Producers Association. Mr. Luke received the St. Barbara Award given annually by the Colorado mining industry to one person who has made a significant contribution to the success of mining in Colorado. And finally, Forrest was presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Society of Mining and Reclamation for his contributions to the field of mine land reclamation. So, as the board knows all too well, Forrest is well deserving of this award. So, just congratulations to Forrest. And that's it, Cami, on the.
All right.
So, if anybody has any questions or comments that I can address concerning the awards, I'm happy to answer.
This is Lauren. No questions, but just congratulations to all the awardees, and thank you, Jason, for the presentation. It's always nice to recognize folks doing the best of their abilities and say thank you.
Sure. Yeah, 2020 was a tough year, but like I said, 4 nominations on reclamation awards means that people were out there doing work. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I agree. And I really appreciated that photo of the Coleridge mine reclamation, kind of showing really what happens after 10 years. That was incredibly impressive.
I just want to say, Forrest, thank you so much for your service. You've done a great job. The one award you forgot to mention was he's probably the best fisherman I've seen coming off of Muddy Creek Pass. But thank you so much for your contribution to Colorado, Forrest.
Here, here.
Thank you very much. I didn't know anything about that until I read the packet. But anyway, I want to thank the division for the nomination as well. Thank you.
I wanted to echo the other board members. And this is, Forrest and I were appointed at the same time and have served on this board for 8 years together. And I know the board has benefited greatly from his experience and what I have found incredibly practical solutions to the issues that the board faces. And so I was extremely happy to see that and wish you wonderful retirement, Forrest. I hope you get to see many, many more birds and check those off your list.
Thank you, Jill. Appreciate
So I think that's it. Do we need to vote on anything for this, or are we?
No, yeah, we're good. No, no votes. Like I said, they'll be awarded at the banquet next week or in a couple of weeks. And as far as physical awards, we're going to try to get out and present those awards in person. If not, then we will mail them, but I'm sure Forrest will receive his in person as we're in Craig monthly. So
Sounds good. All right, thank you for the presentation.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, Ellicott Sand and Gravel Board Action File number M 2018-063. Who will be presenting, and do we have anyone from the operators here?
Brian with Environment Inc. is here for Ellicott.
Okay. Then I'll swear everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, sorry. Is there someone else?
Oh,
So-
sorry, Jill. This is Tim Kazare. I'll be representing the division for this matter.
Okay, will you, if you're going to present, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Great. Thank you. I will turn it over for the presentation.
Okay, good morning. This is a somewhat rare event, so I will try to give you a brief overview of what's going on. This is for the Schubert Ranch Sand Resource. The permittee is Ellicott Sand and Gravel. It's a 112C aggregate mine encompassing 733.7 acres with a maximum of 30 acres disturbed at one time. The bond that we approved is for $138,200, and it's in central El Paso County. It's a service mine. So pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 34-32.5-117, parent 1, a permit cannot be issued until the financial warranty and the performance warranty have been received by the division. So the division has approved this, but we have not yet issued it. So then pursuant to Rule 4.1, parent 2, this provides a period of 1 year in which the permittee for the approved permit has a 1 year period to submit the financial and performance warranties. If these are not received, then the board shall have a hearing to reconsider the approval and, if affirmed, establish a new deadline for the submittal of the financial and performance warranties. So that's basically what we're here for today, is to for the board to review this and reaffirm and to set a new deadline for the submittal of the performance and financial warranties. So as required by Rule 1.6, the permittee published notices for this hearing. The last newspaper notice was published on January 13th. So the public comment period ended on February 2nd, and we have not received any comments on this. The staff does not oppose this petition. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Mr. O'Brien to discuss the matters further, unless you have any questions for me.
It doesn't look like any questions at this point.
Good morning, board members. My name is Steve O'Brien. I run a company called Environment Incorporated. I'm here to represent Ellicott Sand and Gravel in this matter. This is kind of a long story, but it has mainly to do with our local government, in this case, El Paso County permitting process. Once the division approved the application in November of 2019, we proceeded the preparation of the permit required by El Paso County. El Paso had told us that we needed to get our state permit prior to applying to El Paso County. You guys probably, or some of you may know, that Bruce Humphreys is a guy that we hired to do the work in El Paso County. And Bruce has a pretty substantial background in reclamation with the division. And Bruce has worked through and has been working through the county process and finally filed the application in April of 2000. And from that point to the current date, we are still working through the review process with El Paso County. In November or in December of 2020, the county advised us that we had to physically have the DRMS permit before they would go to the board. So that's what triggered this request for reconsideration. Since that time, they've determined that they can make it a condition of the permit to have that permit issued, so we can wait until Planning Commission and County Commissioners have heard the case before we have to post the bond. So this mix-up with the county is what has triggered this request. I think it's better that we get it out of the way now and have, so that when we get to the Planning Commission and County Commissioners and are pretty sure we're going to get that permit, then we can post the bond so that everything will be ready to go upon their approval with it. So that's kind of what we've done. I would have never guessed that it would take a year from the date of submittal to before we'd even get a chance to get to the Planning Commission to the first hearing on this thing. And so the request is an extension for 1 year from today. Instead of going back to May, this date puts us pretty close to a board hearing date. I don't expect us to go a year. I would suspect that we'll have this thing bonded and ready to go before summer starts if everything goes the way it is. And so I ask you to give us a 1 year extension until February 17th of next year, 16th of next year, to post the bond on this thing, knowing that we'll get it done before then anyway. Thank you. I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. O'Brien or the division?
This is Forrest. I guess I would just ask what the division's position is on this.
We don't have any opposition to this. It seems to be, from our standpoint, it's circumstances beyond their control. So.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
I would move we approve the request.
To
A second.
extend,
To extend,
Go ahead.
yes, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to extend the request by the applicant.
I'll second that.
all right, moved and seconded. And just for clarification, it's an extension of 1 year from today to post the bond. That is the request. So just making that clear for the record. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. You have your 1 year extension for posting the bond.
Thank you, board members. And one more thing. Congratulations, Forrest, from the sand and gravel industry. And also congratulations on your retirement. I envy you a little bit on that. So good luck in the future. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. next up is number 7, enforcement hearing. Robert Condon, Avalanche Creek Marble and Alabaster LLC, file number M 1999-042. Anyone that will be testifying in today's hearing, can you please, if we can see you, make that so we can see you, and then raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Condon, I'm not sure, will you be testifying in today's hearing? I'm not sure.
He may be. Is his camera off?
His
Yeah.
camera is off, yes.
There we go.
I will be or not, depends on what happens.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
on
we will-
standby.
Okay, we'll swear you in if that is to occur.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Mitchell, it looks like this is your matter. Will you be starting for the division?
I guess if I'll jump in just a little
Oh.
bit.
Go ahead, please.
This is Scott Schultz, counsel with the Attorney General's office, representing the division in this matter. So we did have a flurry of filings by Mr. Condon's attorney, Mr. Stevens, who's on this at this hearing. So several motions to kind of, I think, clear through. I guess I'll try to set the stage a little bit, and we believe this is an extremely simple matter. It has to do with no legal right to enter. This permit is on Forest Service land. The legal right to enter is both a statutory and regulatory requirement that the permittee must illustrate to the division at all times. So just a little bit of background. The board packet's a little thick on this one. And I will give Mr. Stevens a chance to respond as well. But back in 2017, in June of 2017, there's a dispute between Mr. Condon and another individual who's associated with Snowmass Mining Company. Eventually, again, in June 2017, after a trial, the Pitkin County District Court decided that Mystic Eagle was not the title owner of the mining claims involved in this permit. That decision was appealed by Mr. Condon and his attorneys. And in December of 2018, the Court of Appeals affirmed the district court's decision that Mystic Eagle and Mr. Condon no longer had title to these 10 mining claims involved in the permit. The division received a letter from the Forest Service in October of 2019, essentially stating to Mr. Condon and his entities, his mining entities, get your private property, get your equipment off of Forest Service property. This is back in October of 2019. Then in September of 2020, there was an appeal that Mr. Condon and his attorneys raised to the Department of Interior Office of Hearings and Appeals. In, again, September of 2020, the Department of Interior Office of Hearings and Appeals issued an order denying Mr. Condon's claims, essentially stating that Mystic Eagle cannot demonstrate that it had title or an interest in land. Again, then in September of 2020, we also got another letter from the division, got another letter from the Forest Service indicating that Mr. Condon and his mining operation did not have legal right to enter the Forest Service lands. The division has been extremely patient throughout this process. Again, we see this as a very black and white issue. They must demonstrate that they have legal right to enter Forest Service lands regarding this permit. All indications are that they do not. I'll give, again, Mr. Stevens a chance to respond. We see this as a very simple legal issue. They're asking for a lot of documents from the Forest Service in a FOIA request. That's part of their basis for continuance. Frankly, I don't see those as relevant to whether or not they have legal right to enter in this enforcement action. So with that, I'm open to any questions that the board may have. And if not, I'll give Mr. Stevens a chance to kind of lay out his filings and where his clients are at this time.
Karen, did you have a question? No, I don't think so. Just, and sorry, I should have asked this at the beginning. When I look through the PEC, I see a petition to order mediation. And Mr. Stevens, I'll give you a chance to. I'll ask Mr. Schultz first, but I see pending a petition to order mediation as the only petition out there that we need to decide.
Your Honor, or sorry, used to being.
You can call me. Definitely not a judge. Don't worry.
So I could address the petition to order mediation very quickly. The division is right; it's certainly not required, but we do believe that, and maybe it's not the practice of this board to do that, but it is in the law, and I think mediation is a good tool and a superior tool, because we have not actually been able to sit down with staff to deal with these issues, and so we think that's a good idea. But there is another request, and that is for a postponement. We requested postponement several times based on Forest Service not providing documents, and we're appealing. And we think some of those documents are relevant. For instance, there's reference to Forest Service maps that talk about the competitors' claims and our claims not overlapping completely, and that's part of our underlying issue. But we're also asking the board for a postponement for two other reasons. One is that the letters that Mr. Schultz references, we have filed suit against the Forest Service, because if those are interpreted as the division is interpreting them as either revoking a plan of operations or determining that we have no right to enter, those were done without due process, and those are wrong. And we are in federal court against the Forest Service on that issue, and the board really should wait. We have one other reason, I think, that happened yesterday why we would ask for a postponement is one of our witnesses, a former Forest Service employee, Mike Doran, was going to testify today, and he has had to go into the hospital today for some emergency medical tests. So I think there's a couple of reasons why the board should postpone this hearing. And as I said earlier, we believe mediation would actually be a good idea.
And I'm sorry, as Mr. Schultz stated, there was a lot of documentation in the board packet. I may have missed it. How long are you asking for postponement?
Well, so we've been asking a month at a time because we were waiting for documents from the Forest Service in our Forest Service appeal. But now that this federal lawsuit is at issue, I would ask for a longer period of time. I'd ask for 4 to 6 months. I'm relatively confident. I'm an attorney, I've been around a long time. I shouldn't say this, but I sort of feel like when the Forest Service realizes that they haven't actually revoked the plan of operations, and that implying and sending out letters that sort of suggest that they have or they're going to just doesn't cut it. And that's why I think this might be, in the 4 to 6 month range, not the year or two range.
I have
I
a
think
question.
Go ahead, Forrest.
This is Ms. Forrest. What would the mediation look like? Who would it be between?
Well, it'd be between our clients and the division, and both sides would need to agree on a mediator. And I would think that we either select somebody who's an expert at mediation or an expert at mining law or the Forest Service, or somebody who has some familiarity with the subject matter.
Madam Chair, if you go ahead.
Real quick question. And what would be the desired outcome of the mediation? Because it sounds like to me you're asking us to just wait until you get some answers on the Forest Service side. I'm not sure what a mediation result would get you from that.
And that's a fair question. I mean, these are kind of two separate separate requests, and it may make sense to just wait on the mediation until the issues with the Forest Service are resolved. And in fact, when the issues with the Forest Service are resolved, that may resolve the entire matter. But if you're not going to postpone, then I would recommend mediation.
And I'll let Mr. Schultz jump in here a second. I heard you say that you haven't had a chance to sit down with the division, and there's several members of the division here. I know that they always make themselves available and want to talk through these things, and we often hear about things that don't come before the board because it's all been resolved because people have sat down and talked. And so I'm having a hard time ordering or even considering ordering the division to sit down and talk with you when I would be extremely surprised if they haven't already offered that up as a possibility.
Well, Madam Chair, the problem has been we've been waiting for documents to be able to show why we believe what we believe. And so, yeah, we kept thinking we were getting these documents. Again, these are documents from the Forest Service. We requested documents from the division. We got them quickly and apparently got them completely. Very impressed with that. But with the Forest Service, there are documents that talk about different maps of our claims versus the party in which we were in the other lawsuit with that don't match up. And we kind of need to see this to be able to show. I also need to maybe cut to the chase. I mean, if we're going to go talk about the merits, I think a very important and completely new development is that the Snowmass Claims, that's the party who was involved in the lawsuit that resulted in the 2017 decision where the court said, you're the senior claim holder. Those claims have been forfeited as of September of this last year, 2020. And so I'd like to be able to sit down with, and we just found out about this a couple of days ago, a week ago, maybe. I'd like to be able to sit down with staff to be able to say, what about this new development?
Okay, Mr. Schultz, did you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first, I guess I'll address the mediation issue. And again, I did file a motion to strike their petition because it's not based on correct interpretation of the statute. And if you look at my motion to strike, it talks about mediation only applying to agency proceedings that concern an individual who is licensed to practice in occupation or profession. That's not what we have here. So I understand that the sound of mediation sounds enticing, but that's not a correct interpretation of the statute. And that's not That's not an option in an enforcement hearing like this. Again, the second issue of what this actual enforcement hearing is about, to me, again, is extremely simple. It doesn't have to do with snowmass mining. It has to do with simple legal right of entry to Forest Service lands for this permit regarding Mystic Eagle Quarry LLC and Robert Condon. They don't have that, and we have been told by the Forest Service since at least 2019 that they don't have legal right of entry. So again, this is a statutory and regulatory requirement, very black and white. And the process is not wait until we, I guess, exhaust all litigation strategies or remedies to the division. Again, they don't have legal right of entry, so they do not have a valid permit. So again, issues regarding snowmasses title is not relevant to this case. Again, we see this as a very simple issue, and it involves them not having legal right of entry from the Forest Service. Mr. Stevens references a lawsuit that was filed yesterday against the Forest Service, and essentially it drags in the division into a case that it really has no interest in. Again, Forest Service is telling us they don't have legal right of entry. They've said that since, at least a year and a half. And the process is that the operator has a legal burden to show that they have legal right of entry. They don't have that. So with that, I'll just leave it at that. We see it as a simple matter. I don't see how documents from the Forest Service will change, again, the district court, the Court of Appeals, the Office of Hearings and Appeals from the Department of Interior's mind. So I'll leave it at that. And again, mediation does not apply to this case, and I don't see how a continuance furthers this issue, this matter.
All right, so let's deal with these in order. First is the petition for the board to order mediation between the division and the operator here.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Means.
This is Russ Means. I just want to, for the record, and that as you pointed out, the division and staff have not received any requests to have any kind of conversations regarding this matter. As we've sat here for a year and a half almost, the stuff on this issue, there's never been a formal request of stuff to sit down with the division and have any discussions on that. So I think that's something important for the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clement, did you want to add something?
This is Stephanie Mitchell from the division. I just wanted to clarify too that legal right of entry for them is basically an active plan of operations with the U.S. Forest Service. So just in case you were confused about legal right of entry, there's no lease or anything. It's an active or valid plan of operations, and that has since expired.
May I respond?
I want to hold off on the actual merits just for a second. I want to deal with the petition for mediation first, and then we'll go to the request to continue. And then as needed, we will get into the merits and discussion about whether you have valid right of entry as needed. So Mr. Kleiman, as board chair, am I able to rule on the petition for mediation, or should we throw this out for the board to decide?
I think the board policy gives you that ability. Since the board's here,
let's throw it out to the board.
Yeah, either way works.
So, board members, before you is a petition to order mediation. As Mr. Schultz stated, and as he put in his motion to strike, I don't see this statute as applying to this situation, and we've never dealt with this. I also would not promote or support such an order, given the fact that we know that the division is willing to sit down and work through these things, and they've not gone through that process to ask them to do that. So I would propose that we deny the petition for mediation.
This is Lauren Duncan. Just clarifying that if we deny the petition for mediation, it still leaves the door open for the division and the operator to sit down and kind of discuss these issues into the future. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And it would be much more affordable for everybody
Great.
involved.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that then.
Is that a second then, Lauren?
Yeah, it can officially be a second.
Great. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so the petition for mediation has been denied. The next is the petition for continuance. I would like to hear from the board. I know that we noticed that this issue and matter has been continued for the past several months, and we have been curious as to why. And we now have that before us. I want to hear from the board whether they'd like additional testimony on this, or whether they are good based on the papers that have been provided in the packet and the testimony you've heard so far.
Jill, one question I would have is whether active mining is going on at this point, or is being anticipated in the near future.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, well, there's not active as of this moment because of the weather, but it is anticipated that mining will start up in May.
If I may respond, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
There's no, I guess, outstanding liabilities that the division is concerned about regarding this site. However, if there were mining to occur by Mystic Eagle Quarry or Robert Condon, that would definitely be a violation of their permit. The division does not believe they have legal right of entry in this case. They don't have a valid plan of operations with the Forest Service. I'm not going to comment on the violations that would incur with the Forest Service, but the division is not concerned about, again, any immediate environmental or human health concerns or environmental concerns. That would definitely change if there was potential mining occurring.
Any other thoughts from the board?
This is Lauren Duncan. I have a question about when the last time active mining did occur at this site, kind of looking at the site photographs and maybe some of the documentation between the Forest Service and the operators and the various challenges that the operators have gone through here with ownership. It doesn't seem like anything has happened recently, but I can't really tell.
This is Stephanie Mitchell with the division. They were, excuse me, they were in TC in 2013, and they sent a letter to the division in 2017 asking to get out of TC, and that was granted. Since then, I have not seen much activity there at all, besides some removal of refuse, debris, and equipment.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And so, go ahead, Lauren.
Well, I was just going to sort of echo some of the previous thoughts here. That seems like quite a bit of work to get back up and operational, including sorting out the discussion with the Forest Service and a new plan of operation by May. That seems awfully quick.
May I respond?
Just 1 second. So Lauren, as to whether you would agree to another continuance of this matter or not, how does that weigh on your decision there?
Just speaking personally, I feel like there are a lot of pieces of this puzzle that haven't come together yet to really make a good decision on. But at the same time, you know, it's been continued for so many months that I wonder if the board does need to make some form of decision in order to potentially speed up this process, or at least tie up a few of the loose ends. But that's just me talking. I'd be interested in hearing what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, I'm trying to mull over the same sort of thought process. We just had a conversation to say we don't need mediation because the division certainly could sit down and talk. And I'm trying to tie that thought with this continuance thought and how, I know we're trying to keep them separate, but I'm trying to sort of keep things in order as well.
I'd like to stay in here if I could.
Sure, let me swear you in first. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay, just really briefly, I am trying to do my best to keep us focused on this one issue of a continuance. So
I last worked at the mine in 2015. I believe we sent video evidence. We worked in 2016. There's never been a decision notice that our plan of operation has been canceled or avoided. Never. There's no indication other than a few documents that allude to that fact. And a matter of fact, the Keacham letter says that this is not a decision. There's no decision. I've got a plan of operations that's valid through 2035 that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to get and took over 10 years to achieve what we needed to operate on a full-time basis is year-round approvals, which I applied for in 2013. So what's been happening is I've been not allowed to operate on 6 months a year because of the Forest Service interference. And I finally get it. And now they're telling me that we haven't operated now. We have a problem with the Forest Service. We requested these FOIA requests 3-4 months ago and got piecemeal. We know there's a lot of records that exist because of the CORA request we got from you, and they will not give them to us. Under the law, we have a right to have these documents to put on our defense. And one of the things we're hoping to not find, which we don't know if it exists, is any decision notice, because we've never been certified mail a decision that we've been void, and it's called due process. We have a right to address that. Some district ranger cannot sit in the office and scribble and allege you don't have a plan anymore, and that doesn't make it legal. And that's why we're in federal court, to get that determined by a federal judge. I've worked on this for 36 years of my life. I started when I'm 22, and I'm not 22 anymore. And I've spent over 30 years in court with bureaucrats. So I implore you to give us some time to get this resolved with the federal court. That's going to be the determining factor of how this thing falls out. Scott said it is simple. Yeah, it's simple, but it's complicated when agencies won't come forward and provide the documents that they are under law to provide to us. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Mr. Stevens, do you want to wrap up some of those thoughts?
I was just going to say that the board member is right. If we have to go get a new plan of operations, it's not going to be 4 months. It's going to be longer than that. But that's not our point. Our point is our plan of operations has not been revoked. And these couple of letters, and the board shouldn't assume that conclusion. That's the issue on the merits. Shouldn't assume that that is true based on some letters that say you don't have a plan of operations anymore. There needs to be an official appealable decision. And when we asked the Forest Service, they said, oh, well, this isn't an appealable decision. So that's why we want the court, or at least the attorney to the Forest Service, to realize if we're going to revoke the plan of operations, that we need to do it officially, and it needs to be an appealable decision. And again, the reason snow mass is relevant is because the only basis for saying you don't have a plan of operations is that you don't have a right to mine the claims based on the court decision that Mr. Schultz mentioned. Well, that court decision says we're junior claim holders and the senior claim holders are now gone. That's a reason for a 4-month delay.
And as to the 4 to 6 months, how likely are you actually going? How likely is it that you'll actually get some sort of decision within 4 to 6 months? That seems worse, unlikely to me in some ways.
Well, I mean, I hate to make a promise, especially when it's involving a court, but the federal government will be responding officially. They'll be finally putting their attention to this within 2 months. And I think we can try to get a court decision in another 2 or 3 months. But again, I'm sort of hoping that when somebody looks at this from the Justice Department or whoever is representing the Forest Service, they'll realize, oh, we've made these assumptions about the plan of operations, but we've never made a formal decision. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility in 4 to 6 months to have a decision. I can't say anything about likelihood, though. I just can't.
Understood. Mr. Schultz and anyone else from the division, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the harm that you would see in waiting if we were to postpone this.
Madam Chair, this is Scott Schultz with representing the division. Honestly, if there's 4 months that they think they can get a decision and there's some more definitive document out there, there's some more, I guess, decisive document on the plan of operations from the Forest Service, I would be okay with a 4-month continuance. Again, I see it as a really simple issue. I am not a betting man and would not bet that we're going to have a decision in the federal district court case, the complaint that got filed yesterday in 4 to 6 months. But I am willing to, I guess entertain a 4-month continuance on this. I don't see the documents still as being relevant, but I am trying to listen to the operators' concerns on this, and there is no environmental harm on this. This has been a dispute that has been, the Pitkin County District Court decision was back in 2017. So I don't see the harm in waiting another 4 months. It is quite the saga, but at some point, I don't see how this, the legal right of entry is not a wait type of issue. It is a black and white issue, and it's the operator's burden to prove that, and I don't believe that they can't prove that, and I don't see any documentation that would change that. But if they think they will get some sort of document in 4 months and that will change their quote unquote defense, I understand that.
Can I interject for a second?
Sure, just really briefly, please.
Yes, the Forest Service has a website that has all the current active permits that are out there, and we are listed as active on the website that the Forest Service Service District maintains. They've never put it into a canceled mode, and that's an official record. Check it out.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
just to dovetail a little bit on Mr. Schultz's comments and stuff, and that the division another 4 months is not going to make much of a difference and stuff in this as far as that goes. So if the board entertains extending that, that's we're not necessarily opposed to that. I think the important thing though is to put some kind of a sideboard on it, that if it goes to 4 months and there's still something, the operator and his representation needs to come back before the board again and explain and stuff where they're at in that, so that you guys have a full understanding of where the process is and stuff of that before moving forward with anything.
Go ahead, Mr. Singletary.
I'd like to ask a question. I think, Mr. Stevens, you mentioned 4 to 6 months. Is 4 months? I mean, I don't want to trap you into something that isn't going to happen. If tell me what your rationale is on this, timing wise.
Well, so the federal government has to answer the complaint within 60 days. So essentially 2 months. And I think it is likely that that's nobody's going to pay a whole lot of attention to this until that deadline. Nobody on the Forest Service or the Department of Justice side is going to pay much of attention for 2 months. And then I think we ought to be in a position to hopefully reach agreement with the Forest Service about whether these 2 letters are official declarations revoking the plan of operations. We don't believe they are. They'll have to make a decision whether they are or they aren't. And if for some reason they say, oh, yes, those are, and they were done without their procedures, we will file a motion for the court to declare those to be invalid because they didn't treat them as a revocation of a plan of operations. They're casual letters saying, we think you have stuff here that is not incident to mining. Please remove it. We said, well, we want to appeal it. He says, oh, you can't appeal that. So that's why I'm thinking we're in the 4 to 6 month range. That is aggressive for a federal court action. I realize that. But and we would not oppose Mr. Means' suggestion that in that end of that time period, we tell the board exactly where we are. The court has ruled such and such, or a motion is pending before the court such and such, or the Forest Service has changed their position. I think that's a reasonable request.
And just to follow up, I think that would be just an obligation to let us know where you are. Not a request, it's an obligation, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
One concern that I have with putting this off is, as Mr. Schultz stated, if any mining were to go on, it would be the position of the division that any mining would be done. It would be in violation of a permit because it's currently the division's position that you don't have a valid permit. And so my concern is that if we give this 4-month extension, what happens with the mining in that interim time period is because we don't have any sort of cease and desist order in place to my knowledge.
So what I would recommend is that before mining commences, we explain where we are with the Forest Service. Again, I think it's likely there's a good chance we may have an agreement with the Forest Service that they have not formally revoked. And I think it's unlikely that they would choose to formally revoke, because the only basis is this 2017 decision that says Snowmass Mining is the senior claim holder, and those claims are gone. So I don't see the Forest Service coming along and saying, oh, now we're going to revoke. And I'm hoping we can get some resolution of that before mining starts in May.
Joe, Madam Chairman, I think we have an obligation if we do grant the 4 months or whatever it is, that before they can ever commence mining, they got to tell us where they are. They got to come back. I mean, they don't have a permit. So, you know, until they get going, I mean, I'm totally in favor of trying to work with them. But on the other hand, I don't want to see a shovel turned until we know what the heck's going on.
I'm with you, John, on that. I'm just looking to the board council and division council as to some legal mechanism to enforce that.
Madam Chair, this is Scott Schultz, for counsel for the division. I would suggest a continuance contingent upon an agreement with the division of a cease and desist order on any sort of mining operations. I think we could craft something very simple that would not allow any sort of mining activities to occur until the division is provided a valid plan of operations by the operator and the Forest Service.
Mr. Stevens?
Could agree to no mining, but we'd like to be able to up there to do maintenance. We have equipment up there. We have different things. So we would like to be able to occupy and do maintenance.
Without discussing that with the Forest Service, as long as there's no sort of, again, legal right of entry issues on that, we would agree to that. But again, I think it's tough to negotiate over a Zoom hearing without speaking to the Forest Service. But I do understand Mr. Condon needing to potentially do some sort of maintenance. But I think, again, that the division would be amenable to that and discuss that, as long as we don't run afoul of something that the Forest Service is requiring. So we don't want to give permission that we don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we're not asking for that permission. It is between the Forest Service and us, and there's a statutory right for every citizen of the United States to go onto federal lands. And I'm a citizen of the United States. It's my property. It's my mining claim.
Let's see if we can't resolve this here without just going back and forth.
I know.
What if we did something? What if we did something, Mr. Schultz, that you conferred with Mr. Stevens or the owner, and a month from now on our next meeting we have something we can agree to that will protect us and let them go ahead and use their rights that they have as citizens and whatever they got in the country. I mean, I think that discussion, we can go back and forth for the rest of the morning and not know what we're going to do. But would the board be amenable to figuring out a way we could go 30 days and then at our next meeting we have an agreement between the parties? Is that something we could fashion?
Mark here. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I think this is more along the lines of, it sounds like we're going to grant a continuance for 30 days here until the next meeting. In the meantime, staff will draft up some type of cease and desist order that'll kind of cover not removing the permit or the plan of operations, but not allowing mining until we have this all settled with the federal court.
Okay.
Is that a motion, Mr. Mock?
That is a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Any discussion to the motion to continue this for another month in the next hearing, and during the interim, the division will work with the operator to come to an agreeable cease and desist order to cover the interim time period for a longer continuance while they hopefully can work something out with the Forest Service. My only addition, this is not part of the motion, I just wanted to put that out there for discussion purposes, is at some point, the board's going to have to hear this and make a decision, and the continuances will not be granted for indefinitely because federal litigation can go on for a very long time. But I think it does make sense in this short period.
Madam Chairman, that's why I wanted to confer with the applicant regarding the time. So
Yeah.
that they're aware of they're the ones that said 4 months. So that's what we're doing.
Yep, that sounds good. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. This has been continued for another month, and we'll see the parties back here in March.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next item, we only have a few things left, so unless I hear strong arguments to the contrary, we're just gonna get through them. So item number 8, discussion item, Hard Rock rulemaking, 34-32-101, monthly update, Russ Means and Jeff Fugate.
Good morning. This is Russ Means for the division. Want to bring the board up to date on where we're at in our rulemaking process. The most important thing is that we have completed our scheduled one-on-ones with individual stakeholders in the month of February. There may be some more coming down the pipe and stuff in that later on. But what we have is tomorrow is the deadline for any written comments regarding our red lines that we put out there to the public. And then we have our final scheduled informal meeting with all of the stakeholders next Thursday. And I say scheduled because everything's tentative. We may, once we dive into Jeff Fugate and the team dive into review and edits and stuff on our red line, we may have to have another meeting with everybody. But as of right now, it's the final one for the informal process. So after next Thursday's meeting, we'll be entering into what I would refer to as the revision and review stage. Staff will sit down and go over all the conversations, submittals and stuff that we've had from all the stakeholders, take a look at editing the red lines. And then from there, we also have to step back and take a look at any legal issues that might be there. While there may be some things and stuff that we would like to do, there may be some legal ramifications, and certainly we have to take a look at that. So that's going to take probably about 60 days. So on our tentative schedule right now, we're hoping that we can get through the review and editing phase in about 60 days. And believe it or not, that'll be around the 1st of May. And so we'll be, our hope and our goal is to have a final red line version and stuff for the stakeholders in the informal process to take a look at before we enter into the formal process. And that process, we're hoping will start in June, and that'll be dependent, of course, on timing with the Secretary of State's publication and some other things and stuff that are there. But I would just like to take the time to really thank the stakeholders. We've had some very, very good conversations one-on-one with conservation and with industry. And there are opposing views, obviously, but they have given the division staff and that some insight into what the primary issues and stuff are there. And you've heard it over and over again and stuff. Temporary cessation, the definition of production, and then what goes into the implementation of 1113. Those are the three big things. All our other smaller edits and stuff, we've actually had very little comment back on those kind of things. But those are the three big things and stuff that Jeff and I and the team have been listening to and taking copious notes on. So, Jeff, you got anything to add in there?
No, that's a great summary. As Russ said, we've had really good meetings with a variety of stakeholders interested in the comments that we get back from the parties tomorrow. We're anticipating that some of them, potentially all of them, will submit kind of their own proposed red line rules. So we'll not only get kind of their big picture comments, but we'll get actual language from the parties that staff and I could work with. So as Russ said, we did extend this out. Part of the motivation was to try to get this before the board where Madam Chair, yourself and Forrest Luke could participate and we could benefit from your expertise. Obviously, we're not going to hit that mark, but I think the extra time will be beneficial to get us in a good spot with either a consensus on the rules or really narrowing down the scope of what the board's going to have to weigh in on. So that's the only update I have. So thanks, Russ.
All right, thank you both. Any questions on that from the board? Okay. Number 9, public comment. I will note that there was a letter submitted in the board's packet that is officially part of the public comment. Is there any other members of the public that would like to address the board? I don't see anyone.
No, there's no other members, Jill.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I think we are done. That was a pretty quick meeting. So unless I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is my and Forrest's last meeting over 8 years. Am I wrong?
Oh, you guys are exceptional.
So I just want to take, since we have a minute, since that's all not even 10:30, I did want to take a minute and thank you all for this. I'm going to get emotional because it's been pretty amazing experience for me. I appreciate the patience when I first started, when I was like too scared to even talk. I was so nervous. My coworkers sent me a bottle of wine called The Prisoner because they're like, you finally get to leave your office, because it was like my chance as a young attorney to finally go out and interact with people, which you don't get to do as a young attorney very much in private practice. So it's been a great learning experience. I've appreciated the division and their expertise and the division's professionalism when we made decisions that you vehemently disagreed with. And I'm sure it was difficult to handle, but your professionalism moving forward and working with us as we kept going and dealt with the next thing. I've learned so much from my fellow board members. Think of Barbara Green and what an example she was for a young woman attorney on this board, and Tom Brubaker and Forrest and all of you. It's been a great experience, so thank you.
Jill, this is Russ Means. On behalf of the division staff, we would really like to thank you and Forrest and stuff for your 8 years. And it's always tough in that when you guys leave and that because of we finally get you guys trained where we want you, and then you leave. So, but no, yeah. But we really do appreciate everything, all your efforts and stuff on our behalf. And the general public doesn't realize the stuff that'll this is a citizen board, and you guys do this and stuff. And that you volunteer for it more or less, and that says a lot and stuff about that. But we really do appreciate you. Thank you.
And this is Jenny, just tagging on Russ. Thank you both so much. We were really hoping that you could stay through the March hearing. And I think I still had it stuck in my head that you would be there through the March hearing. I guess wishful thinking. Anyway, you guys have been amazing, and we so appreciate, the division to have a board that is so competent and members that are so organized and so prepared. It just makes everything go smooth every month, and we really thank you for that. We're so lucky to have had you. So lucky.
Thanks, Jenny.
I just want to say, one of the real rewards of serving on boards is the people you get to serve with, and Jill and Forrest, you're just top notch, and you babysat me through this, and it's a wonderful thing to me to get to know both of you. And Forrest, I still want to meet you on Muddy Creek Pass one of these days, this one time, spring or summer, and we'll fish. But God bless you guys. That was, you're as dedicated and I think you left Colorado in a lot better spot, and I appreciate that.
If I could also, on behalf of the Department of Natural Resources, Jill and Forrest, I'd like to extend both mine and Dan's Gibbs well wishes and appreciation for your service. Director Brand's absolutely right that it really does take exceptional individuals to run these boards smoothly. I've been nothing but absolutely impressed with your leadership, Jill and Forrest. Your intelligence has really been a model for me coming onto this board. And it is always kind of nerve-wracking when you lose two very senior and very good board members. But on behalf of the department in Colorado, we really do appreciate your service. It has been fantastic. And I've been lucky to sit in here just for the last, year and a half or so.
Yeah, if I may, everything that Tim said, and certainly being the newest member of the board, Jill, I can't possibly imagine you being too scared to speak, but I definitely know what it feels like. And I feel so fortunate, when we were all able to sit together, that I could sit by you and Forrest and, John Singletary and learn from your guidance and your expertise and your professionalism, and certainly something that I'll always carry with me for future boards as really wonderful examples. So it's been a real delight to get to know you both, and thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't second enough everything else that everyone else has said so far. It's been a true joy to get to know all of you and to learn from all of you. It's been pretty inspiring to see how people really engage in the time and love that you've given this board and the state as well. So thank you.
Am I off of mute?
You are, Karen, yes.
Okay, I can't tell from there. Everything has been said. There's certainly nothing more that I can add that would be different than what board members in the division have already expressed. Just to say that I think having worked with you, it'll be something that'll stick with me for a very long period of time. And just thank you for your service. It's just been greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Karen.
And this is Forrest. I just want to express what a pleasure and honor it's been for me to be on the board. And Jill, I'm kind of choking up a little bit too. Seemed like we came on the same day, and it's been a great experience. It seemed like it was, it never became routine. There was always a little different nuance to every meeting, and a challenge, trying to work through some of these issues. And it seemed like we always seemed to make it, even though it took some thought and some work. And I've enjoyed working with all of you. And frankly, I'll miss the board. I always look forward to those meetings. And anyway, I've enjoyed working with the staff, with our staff, or with our board attorney, with the DRMS staff, with Cami and all of the people. And again, like Jill said, I've been very impressed with the professionalism of the staff, the DRMS staff, and they didn't always agree with what we came up with, but they were very, very professional about it. And anyway, it's been a great experience, and thank you all.
Can I request that when COVID's over, we Forrest and I are allowed to come for one lunch to just say goodbye?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And actually, we'll have gifts for you, and we'll have a wonderful lunch, and send you both off properly, because this is not a proper stop.
All right. No. I miss the lunches. It's part of my favorite part of sitting and chatting with you all. So
absolutely.
Someday.
Maybe we can get them their favorite lunch.
Exactly. I'll reach out at the time as soon as we get back. I'll talk to Jill. You know, don't even worry about that.
And we've had some great lunches.
I know.
Yeah, we
I
have.
have to say.
Yeah, good
I
food.
know.
Good.
Well, good.
Well,
Well,
you
thanks,
guys take
everyone.
care of yourselves. And I'll be in touch with both of you.
Thanks, Cami. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We are here if you need us. I know Forrest is retiring, so he's probably like not as here as I will be, but I just sit here in front of my computer if anyone needs anything.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Thanks, everyone. With that, we will
Thanks, everyone.
adjourn.
All right, see you
Here.
later.
Thank you.
Thanks.